All right, for those just joining us early on this live stream, it's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here, and bear with me for just a second. We're going to get things up and running on our live stream this evening. Again, just bear with me for just 1 second here. All right, I want to welcome everyone in who's tuning in. It is coming up to the bottom of the hour here at 7:28 p.m. It's been an eventful day, more eventful than we kind of thought. It's been the kind of day we didn't think it would be this active, but we had a round of severe weather earlier on, and we are covering more isolated severe weather chances early this evening, and we still have the main line of thunderstorms out in western Ohio. We still have that to go. That's coming up in a few hours. We're hopping on the live stream right here at the bottom of the hour at 7:30. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning out for parts of Columbiana County, and you'll notice this severe thunderstorm warning does have what we call a tag on it. It's a tornado possible tag. Now, this is the same supercell, if you will, that produced a tornado warning earlier on for extreme southwestern Mahoning and parts of Portage and extreme south or northeastern Stark. We hopped on the air because of that tornado warning during the 6 o'clock hour. Thankfully, we've seen no evidence of a tornadic touchdown. There have been occasional bouts of rotation that have caused some funnel clouds to be seen. We've had a couple of storm spotters submit pictures to us of funnel clouds and even some wall clouds. A wall cloud is kind of a lowering of the cloud base, a little bit different than a shelf cloud and other types of clouds. Sometimes a wall cloud can be a precursor to the rotation extending down to the ground. Not always. In fact, most of the time not, but it is sometimes a precursor. So we've seen some things going on at the cloud level, some rotation, if you will. The storm in question that produced the tornado warning earlier, and now a new severe thunderstorm warning, is kind of between Canfield and Leetonia. This storm is still trying to exhibit some signs of some rotation. It's fairly weak, but every scan of the radar we have to watch because it's been flirting with some weak rotation off and on for almost a couple of hours now. And so a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for both northern and northeastern Columbiana County, but also extreme southern Mahoning County. Both warnings run until 8:15, so about 45 minutes from right now. You'll notice again up here in the banner the tornado possible tag. The Weather Service can issue what we call base warnings, just regular severe thunderstorm warnings, regular tornado warnings, regular flash flood warnings, but they can also kind of supplement those base warnings with these tags. A tornado possible. Sometimes they'll put a tag on it that says considerable damage possible, destructive, things like that that differentiate warnings from just a base or kind of more routine warning, if you will. And so with this storm trying to still rotate a little bit, they did put that tornado possible tag on the storm. Let's do a radar loop for you. This storm coming out of Mahoning County and clipping northeastern Columbiana County, so heads up in Columbiana. The storm is going to roll through with thunder and lightning, maybe some small hail, and again, we're watching for possible signs of rotation as it moves through the greater Columbiana area. This is moving out of Canfield. It's moving just east of Greenford right now. It's exiting Greenford, or just about to, and rolling through the heart of Columbiana. Kind of the Leetonia area as well. Heads up if you're watching us downstream, closer to East Palestine, maybe New Middletown, although New Middletown will be about as far north maybe as this storm impacts. This will be more aimed towards northeastern Columbiana, we think, and that's why severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued until 8:15 for everywhere where you see this kind of flashing orangish polygon, a couple of polygons actually. One's more of a rectangle shape, that's the one in southern Mahoning County, and the other one is more of a irregular shape, if you will, issued for northeastern Columbiana. Southwestern Lawrence is included in this, and along with northwestern Beaver County in Pennsylvania. Now, let's briefly, since we just kicked off our live stream, and for those just watching us, let's recap what's going on this evening. This is all pretty isolated and kind of in between what we had earlier on, some gusty storms earlier on, and what's to come later this evening. What's to come later this evening is this mean-looking line. Look at all these warnings. Every single county that's being impacted by these storms is under a severe thunderstorm warning, and we even have a tornado warning in northwest Ohio. Let's take off the warning information and just show you this line of storms. This is a severe line of storms that is pushing eastward across the Buckeye State. Now, the timing on this would suggest that, it's between about 10 p.m. and midnight that we'll have to worry about this. Now, I'm expecting this line to weaken by some degree, maybe not completely. It may still pack a punch as it enters eastern Ohio. It'll start to run out of gas as it crosses I-71 and especially I-77, but it may still have enough pep in its step that it may produce some gusty winds and some briefly heavy rain. Again, the timing for our television viewing area, which for those of us who are watching maybe on YouTube and you're not familiar with our television viewing area, I cover the Youngstown television market, and that includes Mahoning County, Columbiana County, Trumbull County, and far eastern Ohio, and then hopping across the state line into Pennsylvania, we cover Mercer and Lawrence counties, kind of north and northwest of the Pittsburgh area. So that's kind of the area we're talking about when I say my TV viewing area. And as you can see, we're well in advance of that main line. This is all pretty isolated activity. The storm in question right now that has a severe thunderstorm warning on it is this one right here, pushing just east of Greenford, bearing down on Columbiana right now, moving into Beaver. This is along the Ohio Turnpike as well. So heads up from New Middletown on south, including Petersburg, and then eventually down towards Middleton, New Waterford, and East Palestine. Keep a close eye on this. We're not telling anybody at this point to seek their safe location. You don't need to go to the basement. You don't need to hide in a closet or anything like that, but just pay attention as this warning is in progress, and I continue our coverage, our streaming coverage here, because at some point the situation may change. The rotation might perk up enough that we tell you that you probably want to seek your safe location. We're not going to tell you that right now, though. Just keep watching the stream for the latest updates. So whether you're watching me right now on YouTube or on Facebook, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your patience this evening. I know I preempted 21 News at 6 p.m. And maybe, when we get on TV and do long-form tornado coverage or tornado warning coverage, that tends to irritate people sometimes, but that's the name of the game. We have to get on the air when part of our TV viewing area is under a tornado warning. Now, that original tornado warning during the 6 o'clock hour in our TV viewing area, it was for just a small section of southwestern Mahoning County. Most of our TV viewing area was not under that tornado warning, but we did get on the air because of our residents in southwestern Mahoning. That original warning was more like out here in Portage and northeastern parts of Stark County as well. But again, that was about an hour or so ago. What we have in front of us now is this severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Mahoning, northeastern Columbiana. Upstream, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued a handful of minutes ago, also until 8:15. This includes parts of Portage County up into Geauga County and back towards the Hudson area, northern Stark County, southeastern Cuyahoga County as well. This is around Bainbridge, and again, heading down towards Hudson. That storm is perhaps producing some small hail and some gusty winds as well. So we'll keep an eye on that one because that could also impact our viewing area at some point. But the one in our viewing area that currently has a warning on it is this one. We'll zoom in real tight on this. Raining pretty good now around Columbiana, over towards Washingtonville, and heading up towards New Buffalo, East Lewistown, Beaver, Eureka. I'm going to actually activate our Columbiana camera and show you a live look at what is going on there. So let's hop over to our Columbiana camera here. And I'll shift this around actually so we can see the traffic circle. All right, so this is our camera in Columbiana. You can see the sky is darkened here. It's obviously raining at a pretty good clip. I don't see any evidence of really strong winds here right now. Of course, there's not much in this vantage point that oftentimes shows off the wind. We have a couple of trees. We have a flagpole or two along the traffic circle here that we kind of keep an eye on sometimes to ascertain what the wind is doing, but nothing real crazy there in Columbiana right now. But we'll keep an eye on that camera. Certainly, that's going to be our nearest camera to this activity. We're at 7:37 p.m. here on WFMJ.com/weather, Facebook and YouTube as well. We're live streaming this evening as a result of the severe weather threat that we have ongoing across the area. Right now, it's, again, kind of a small portion of our area. We may have a more widespread threat. And in other words, everyone's kind of in the same threat level later on this evening. That's a few hours from right now, say between 10 p.m. and midnight. Right now, the threat is localized to southern Mahoning County, south of Route 224, down towards Columbiana, So if you're near the Columbiana-Mahoning County line, whether it's near Route 11 or 164, or if you're right around Route 14, which kind of hugs the Mahoning-Columbiana line, you've got a pretty good thunderstorm overhead. This is the same storm that produced a tornado warning earlier on, about an hour or so ago, for southwestern Mahoning, in parts of Portage and Stark counties. Now, we have had occasional lowerings of the cloud base. There's been no evidence that a tornado has touched the ground at this point. But still, to my eye, looking at the radar data, there's still just enough broad or weak rotation with this that we have to keep an eye on it. We have to babysit it, if you will. Every scan of the radar may, show that this storm is trying to perk up a little bit. I don't see any evidence of that right now, but it's something we're just going to have to watch for as this comes into Columbiana County and then eventually clips southwestern Lawrence and northwestern parts of Beaver. The National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh is noting that over the last few scans, we're losing some of that rightward motion. It may be cycling, and so the chances of this producing an actual tornado have temporarily decreased. But of course, we have to keep an eye on it, and that's why I told you no one needs to seek their safe location necessarily at this point. But just keep watching my stream for a little bit longer here as we continue to cover this. We don't think this is likely to produce a tornado imminently or anything like that. In fact, it's not a tornado warning that's out. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but you'll notice that the Weather Service office in Pittsburgh did include the tornado possible tag within this warning, indicating that it's a severe thunderstorm warning, yes, but it may be still trying to rotate at least a little bit. Now, upstream, we're going to keep an eye on this warned storm. Up here, this is well south and east of Cleveland. This is coming into Portage County, parts of Geauga County, parts of northeastern Summit County as well, Twinsburg over towards Aurora, Bainbridge. Severe thunderstorm warnings for those locations. This storm may be producing some small hail at least and some gusty winds. Don't see a lot of lightning with this storm. It's not as prolific of a lightning producer as some of the other storms that we've had. And again, I'll keep mentioning this for those who are just joining us on the stream. Look at all this off to the west. This big, mean line of storms. Warnings all up and down this line. Most of these are severe thunderstorm warnings, but occasionally the Weather Service has opted for a tornado warning with this line. Now, this is coming east. It is expected to weaken somewhat coming east, but it may still pose a wind threat around far eastern Ohio and far western Pennsylvania in a few hours, few hours, closer to 10, 11, maybe midnight. This would be mostly after sunset that we'd have to worry about this, but this is a mean line of storms, very electric, a lot of lightning and thunder, and it's bowing out, it's producing a lot of wind, and occasionally within the line you have what we call a QLCS tornado trying to form. That's a little squiggle, if you will, along the line. A lot of times tornadoes form out of isolated storms, a lot of the ones that we've had this afternoon. We call these supercells. Sometimes tornadoes happen, in fact, they happen more often in lines of storms. In our part of the country especially, we don't see a lot of true supercells in our part of the country, but we see sometimes tornadoes trying to occur within a line, a bowing line of storms. We call those QLCS rotation signatures. Not to say we can expect that necessarily around here in a few hours, but it'll be something that we can't rule out and we'll have to watch for coming up after sunset this evening. But here's our current heavy storm with a severe thunderstorm warning on it for places such as Columbiana, Washingtonville, Leetonia, Eureka, Beaver. This is now east of Greenford, even though you're technically still in the warning in Greenford. We'll give you the all clear from this storm at this point. We'll give you the all clear here momentarily in Washingtonville. You're still going to be in the meat of this for a little while longer in Columbiana proper. In fact, let's go back to our kind of Columbiana camera here and show you what's doing. You can see the rainfall rates have definitely picked up. It is raining cats and dogs here in Columbiana. The wind has picked up a little bit as well. Definitely the rainfall rates are harder now than the last time I checked on this camera just a few moments ago. So this is what we're seeing right now in the traffic circle, Park Avenue and Main Street in Columbiana. Really raining quite hard. When the air mass this moist, this is like a Florida air mass today. We got into the 80s this afternoon. Dew points have been in the lower 70s. It is a juicy, juicy air mass, and so these storms can be efficient rain producers. It's like squeezing a sponge, getting all that moisture out of the atmosphere. These storms, can very efficiently put a squeeze on the atmosphere and squeeze out quite a bit of moisture. These downpours are like something if you've ever vacationed at Disney World in Orlando, if you've ever been to Miami, or even as far north as, say, Atlanta, southern locales. These are the kinds of things they see all summer long. Around here, of course, we see them sometimes, but they're just not as common, these tropical downpours, at our latitude in our part of the country. All right, so these severe thunderstorm warnings run for another half an hour until 8:15 this evening, and we're looking at southern Mahoning County here in the northeastern part of Columbiana. We also are clipped by this warning in parts of southwestern Lawrence and northwestern Beaver. All right, so now the Weather Service is going to pull the trigger on a tornado warning until 8:15. So with that being said, I'm going to have to set up some live coverage here on TV, so bear with me on the stream. I'll be with you in just a second. Again, on the live stream, bear with us for a second while we set up our coverage here on the television side. Can you hear me back there, Mark?
Sorry, you did go live then?
Yeah, we're going to go live. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here. We're getting back on the air this evening. We have another tornado warning. This is the same storm that produced a tornado warning for a time during the 6 o'clock hour for far southwestern Mahoning and back into parts of Portage and Stark counties. Now the tornado warning is in effect for northeastern Columbiana County, parts of Beaver County, the northwestern part of Beaver County in Pennsylvania, and also just a little bit of southwestern Lawrence County in Pennsylvania. This tornado warning runs until 8:15. Now, outside of this tornado warning, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for many of these same areas, and that severe thunderstorm warning actually extends up into Mahoning County as well. But the meat of the storm is now into Columbiana County, and over the last couple of scans of the radar, we've seen a little bit of a hook appearance on our reflectivity, our radar data here, mostly just southwest of Columbiana. And I'll bring up the wind velocity data off the Pittsburgh National Weather Service radar source. And this is what we look for when we look for how fast the winds are going and what direction they're coming from. And, looking at this, you don't see a whole lot. We don't see a great couplet here. In other words, greens next to reds vividly. But because of the signature on the reflectivity, that's taking on a little more of a hook appearance, the Weather Service deemed that that was enough evidence that we should probably issue a tornado warning. So for residents who are watching in Columbiana, and especially now just east of Latonia, from Columbiana down towards Middleton, New Waterford, East Fairfield, and as far east as East Palestine, now's the time to find your safe location. If you're in a home with a basement, we recommend going there. If you do not have a basement, then the lowest level of your home, away from the windows. Being near windows, never a good idea. We also don't want people to go out and try to verify what's going on. Don't go outside and try to take pictures on your phone or videos or things like that. We would prefer, of course, that you got to your safe location rather than perhaps putting yourself in harm's way. So here's a look at that warning polygon, the kind of the purple-pink polygon here. In effect until 8:15, it includes the northern and northeastern part of Columbiana County, the far southwestern part of Lawrence County, and over into Beaver County, Pennsylvania as well. So again, some communities here within the tornado warning, Columbiana, East Palestine, and heading over towards Little Beaver. You're not technically in the tornado warning if you're watching us from Rogers and Elk Run, and you're certainly not in it over towards Lisbon and anywhere south of there down towards the Ohio River. But if you're watching us from near the edges of this tornado warning polygon, so in other words, East Fairfield, maybe as far south as Rogers, watch our stream for a little bit here in case we have to tell you to seek your safe location kind of in this area. You're right on the edge, and I do think that the bigger threat is off to your north, but that may change in the next couple of scans of the radar, so keep watching our coverage, whether you're watching us on 21 WFMJ, WBCB, or on WFMJ.com/weather. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube this evening as well. So again, we're doing our coverage this evening because a new tornado warning has been issued by the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh. They cover Columbiana County, Beaver County, and Lawrence County, and this tornado warning runs until 8:15. Real quickly, we'll just hop northward. We're also keeping an eye on this severe thunderstorm warning, which is north and west of the area. This is north and east of Akron and southeast of Cleveland. This is more over towards the Mantua area, Hiram, the northern part of Portage County, I should say, and into parts of Geauga and the eastern part of Summit County as well. This storm may push into our viewing area over the next half an hour or so. We'll also keep an eye on that. But of immediate concern is the tornado warning that was issued a few moments ago. And here it is right here. Now, the rotation continues to be radar indicated and fairly weak and ragged. In other words, what I mean by that is we've seen plenty of evidence on the radar and from people submitting pictures and video to us that there's been some lowering of the cloud base occasionally. We've seen maybe a funnel cloud occasionally, maybe a wall cloud occasionally, but we haven't seen any evidence yet that this storm has produced a tornado on the ground. This was warned, a tornado warning earlier for parts of Portage County, including around the Kent and Ravenna areas, and that warning extended as far east as extreme southwestern Mahoning. Then we went about 45 minutes to an hour without a tornado warning, but over the last few scans of the radar, the Pittsburgh Weather Service office thought they better issue a tornado warning for this because the last few scans have been a little bit more impressive in terms of the radar indicated rotation. Just keeping an eye on our chat with the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh, and they're noting that it's getting a little more organized aloft, this storm. And so, we've gone back and forth. Occasionally, we've been less impressed with the way this looks, and we think it's cycling down. But then another scan of the radar comes in, and it looks like it's trying to perk back up again. It's one of those, kind of marginal situations in which it's not obvious that the storm is either weakening or strengthening. Occasionally, it's weakening a little bit, it's strengthening a little bit, or kind of maintaining its strength. Sometimes storms will do this, and it can be kind of frustrating when a storm doesn't want to make up its mind. But that's the way that meteorology and the way that air behaves. That's the way it works sometimes. So again, we have about 25 minutes to go on this tornado warning. It runs until 8:15, and it's basically from Columbiana on south and east. If you're watching us from north of Columbiana up into Mahoning County, west of Columbiana from Latonia on westward towards Salem, you're not in the tornado warning in those locations. If you're watching us from south of Rogers down Route 7, you're fine down towards Clarkson, and certainly once you're down towards Beaver Local High School and down towards the Calcutta area and eventually East Liverpool, you're not in a tornado warning in those locations. But you are if you're watching us from East Palestine and Unity and heading back towards Middleton, and again the greater Columbiana area as well. I'll bring up our camera, which is along the traffic circle in Columbiana. Now, when I showed this on our live stream about probably 10 minutes or so ago, it was raining a little harder than this. It's still raining at a good clip, but it was raining at a heavier clip, more intense rainfall rates, maybe about 10 minutes ago when I showed this camera when we were online only. Again, we're on the TV side right now because of the issuance of a tornado warning, which in the vast majority of cases prompts us to get on the television side to warn as big of an audience as possible. So again, here's a look at our current warnings. We have a tornado warning kind of within a bigger severe thunderstorm warning polygon. So the tornado warning is kind of in that purple-pink color. The orange box or polygon, that's the severe thunderstorm warning. So all of these same locations that are in the tornado warning are also under a severe thunderstorm warning. But outside of the tornado warning polygon, the tornado risk is probably pretty minimal once you're down towards Elk Run and from Columbiana on north and west. I would say you're in the clear at this point. Now, this is going to cross the state line here in the next couple of minutes, handful of minutes after it rolls through East Palestine. So heads up anyone who may be watching us online over towards Darlington, PA. And then once you go up 551 into Lawrence County towards Little Beaver, heads up around there as well. So from Petersburg over towards Little Beaver, now's probably a pretty good time to find your safe location. You are in this tornado warning polygon, and the storm is tracking your way. So lowest level of your home, away from the windows. If you don't have a basement, then an interior room is kind of the best bet for a lot of people. For a lot of people, that might mean a bathroom, that might mean a hallway, underneath a stairwell, something like that. If you live in a mobile home, whether it be in today's situation or any other situation, mobile homes are not the place to be, of course, in tornado warning situations. We hope that you have a plan and you practice that plan sometimes. If you live in a manufactured home or a mobile home, you want to find a site-built structure, and that could mean maybe it's a gas station, maybe it's a grocery store, something like that, somewhere where you can go in the event of a high-end severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. A manufactured home or a mobile home is definitely not the place to be. If you live in an apartment building, and you live, especially if you live on kind of an upper floor of an apartment building, hopefully you have made friends with someone who lives on the lowest floor of that apartment building, and maybe that's a place you can go to seek shelter in these kinds of situations. And what I mean by these situations, these would be tornado warnings, high-end severe thunderstorm warnings. A lot of times I say in high-end severe thunderstorm warnings that wind is wind, and sometimes the worst severe thunderstorm warnings can produce winds that are the same as low-end tornadoes. We see that often around here. We see storms producing 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds that are not tornadoes, but they can do a lot of damage. Earlier on today, with the storms that moved through around mid-afternoon, we did have a 58 mile per hour wind gust at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Trumbull County in Vienna. And that first round of storms actually produced several reports of some wind problems, some downed trees and power lines, especially in Mercer County and the northern part of Lawrence County as well. But that was, at this point, 3 or 4 hours ago. Right now we're kind of in between what happened earlier on this afternoon and what's to come in a few hours. And the activity that we've seen during the 6 and 7 o'clock hours has been pretty isolated. This is a true supercell kind of a structure we've seen to this particular storm. And what we mean by that is it's kind of on its own. It's not within a line or a band of storms. A lot of times supercell thunderstorms have a little bit of a mind of their own. They're not competing with other storms in the area for the best juice, the best high moisture content of the atmosphere. So that's why supercells can a lot of times be pretty scary. And thankfully around here we don't see these kinds of structures very often. They're more common, of course, in the middle of the country and down into the deep south. But occasionally we see this kind of structure. These kind of structures can sometimes produce a lowering of the cloud base, a wall cloud, if you will. Sometimes when a wall cloud can be a precursor to a funnel cloud, and if a funnel cloud comes all the way down to the ground, that's the definition of a tornado. All right, the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh is noting that the mid-levels are weakening once again, likely cycling, and it looks like there's a pretty good chance that at least eastern Ohio will be put under a severe thunderstorm watch box coming up here shortly, and that's because of what's going on off to our west. Let's show you real quickly where that watch is right now. That watch is in effect for a good chunk of central and western Ohio as well. So I'll zoom out and show you where that watch is currently. That's all the counties in yellow. There it is right there. All the counties in yellow currently under a severe thunderstorm watch. That includes Columbus, Mansfield, Toledo, parts of the greater Cleveland area. And it looks like a new severe thunderstorm watch will be issued downstream, including just about all the rest of eastern Ohio, perhaps western PA and parts of West Virginia as well. That's yet to be issued, but the Weather Service is indicating that there's a pretty good chance that'll be the case. That line of storms off to our west, we're going to be dealing with that in a couple or a few hours. Here's that line right now on the radar. You can see all the lightning and thunder with it. It has some wind threats with it, of course. Occasionally within this band, there's enough rotation to prompt a tornado warning. This is moving off to the east, and the timing of this for our area, I'm looking at probably somewhere between 10 p.m. and midnight. If you're going to be going to bed before that point, make sure your devices are charged up and make sure that you can be warned. You can be woken up, in other words. Don't have all your devices on silent. Make sure you can be woken up. I expect this line to weaken somewhat coming east, but maybe not completely weaken, and so it may produce still, kind of a wind threat as it comes east and enters our viewing area after sunset this evening. But in the near term, we have this isolated storm that still has a warning on it for about another 18 minutes. This is in northeastern Columbiana County. You're no longer in the tornado warning in the city of Columbiana. And you are still in the warning in East Palestine, in Middleton. If you're watching us from these locations, right around East Palestine and up towards the Mahoning County line, find your safe location. You won't be inconvenienced for very long. The storm is moving at a decent clip, and so the threat won't last very long. If you're watching us from southwestern Lawrence County, also a good idea to find your safe location. Anyone watching from the Little Beaver area and all these communities in southwestern Lawrence County. And once we get into our Ohio areas, this is kind of where the rotation is probably most pronounced still. Middleton over towards New Waterford. The rotation occasionally has tightened up, occasionally it's weakened. It's kind of gone back and forth, if you will. But right now it is still strong enough that they're going to maintain this tornado warning probably until its original expiration point, which is in 17 minutes at 8:15. So again, we're going to give you the all clear from this storm in particular if you're watching us from Columbiana, and certainly back towards Washingtonville and Latonia. You're also in the clear from the tornado threat. Anyone watching us in Mahoning County from this particular storm anyway, you're still under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:15 in New Springfield, New Middletown, and down towards Petersburg, but the threat of the tornadic circulation is off to your south. It's into Columbiana County. Let's put a loop on our radar here and show you the direction that this storm is moving. It's basically moving due east, or just south of due east, so it's taking aim on East Palestine and Unity, certainly. And then eventually it's mostly going to go into Beaver County, but it's going to kind of graze southwestern Lawrence as well. Now, once it enters Beaver County, that's no longer technically in our TV viewing area. That's in the Pittsburgh television market. So at that point, if we no longer have any warnings, severe thunderstorm, or I should say tornado warnings, for our television viewing area, we'll get off the air and get you back to regular programming. But we're going to keep this coverage going for at least another 15 minutes until this particular warning expires at 8:15 p.m. It looks like the Weather Service in Cleveland is going to cancel the severe thunderstorm warning for Mahoning County, and there it goes. It disappeared. So many communities kind of down in here in the southern half of Mahoning County, south of 224, were under a severe thunderstorm warning for a while, but that warning has been discontinued. So our active warning is the tornado warning that you see right here until 8:15. Middleton, you're going to be in the clear here in a few minutes, kind of along Route 7, but east of Route 7, still under the gun, if you will. So find your safe location. Everyone around and in East Palestine, you'll be inconvenienced for 15 or 20 minutes, but then we'll give you the all clear. Take your device with you if you're watching us on TV. If you have a smartphone, if you have a tablet, you can continue watching our streaming coverage, WFMJ.com/weather, the Storm Tracker 21 app, the 21 News app. We're also streaming on my YouTube and Facebook accounts as well. So take your device with you to your safe location. Again, anyone in and around East Palestine and kind of the Route 14 corridor in the northeastern part of Columbiana County. So here's a close-in view. I think the best rotation is right back here, New Waterford, but it's certainly raining hard with some gusty winds over in this part of the storm. Kind of what we call the anvil part of this supercell structure. The best rotation is back here, but that doesn't mean everyone else is not in some sort of danger if this rotation were to manifest itself in coming down to the ground and producing a tornado. You wouldn't have much time to prepare for that. So we want everyone kind of in this area through here that I'm drawing, Unity, over towards the greater East Palestine area. Find your safe location, basement, interior room, lowest level of your home or business. If you don't have a basement, then away from the windows, and an interior room is most likely your best bet. A lot of people have some sort of closet or a bathroom in the middle of their home that tends to not have as many windows, or no windows at all preferably, and puts as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We want as many walls between you and the outdoors as possible in these kinds of situations. So let me bring up kind of a nerdier looking product here. This is what we call the wind velocity data off the Pittsburgh Weather Service radar, and we look at this product to try to find rotation, which direction the wind is blowing, how fast it's blowing, and it kind of looks like a bucket of spilled paint right now, right? We don't see any sort of real obvious rotation in here. You have some splotches of red and green, but it's not a real tight couplet, if you will. So, I think there's, enough still, perhaps some weak rotation to continue warranting the tornado warning up until its original expiration point at 8:15, but I would be surprised if we have an actual tornado on the ground. Don't hear me say that and think that there's zero danger, though. We still want you to find your safe location for 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most, and then we'll give you the all clear from this particular storm. By the way, the storm upstream that produced a severe thunderstorm warning earlier, no longer a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. This storm has weakened, coming into far western Trumbull County from Southington up towards Mesopotamia and into southeastern Geauga, northeastern Portage County. This does not have as much good-looking structure as it did earlier on, so that severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire. All right, Tyler Berry, one of our storm spotters, mentioning that he's observing rotating mesoscale, a circulation, if you will, over New Waterford, Ohio. I'm watching the video right now, and there doesn't seem to be any evidence that there's rotation reaching the ground, but interesting video nonetheless. So if you're following me on Twitter or X, I just retweeted or reposted that video from Tyler. Thanks to Tyler Berry for sharing that with us. He's one of our best local storm chasers and photographers. And anybody who wants to submit information to us, it's always welcome. Hit us up on social media, WeatherPix, P-I-C-S, I should say. WeatherPix is the email address to send us pictures. You can also submit pictures to us directly on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Just scroll down and find the icon that says submit pictures. That's an easy, convenient way of giving us some intel, because we have all this great radar data. It's great being a meteorologist in 2025 and having all this radar data at our fingertips, but sometimes the ground truth is really more valuable. The pictures, the video, the observations that our local residents and storm spotters can provide us. So we thank anyone who has been keeping us in the loop throughout the day today and into this evening. All right, this tornado warning remains in effect for another 10 minutes for this polygon that you see right here. No longer in the warning in Columbiana, but you're still in the warning in East Palestine. Find your safe location in and around East Palestine. I would give the same advice for anyone watching in southwestern Lawrence, basically from Little Beaver on west over towards the state line. Find your safe location there. If you're watching our streaming coverage in northwestern Beaver County, find your safe location. Anyone around Route 165, anyone around Route 51. Those are Pennsylvania state routes. Find your safe location there as well. Looking specifically at East Palestine, not only do we have the threat for this rotating thunderstorm, but it's raining cats and dogs. I mean, the rainfall rates are very impressive. There can be some standing water on the roadways. We had a lot of flooded yards earlier on today in our northern viewing area especially. And this is the kind of situation in which the atmosphere can wring out the moisture really effectively, really efficiently. It's like squeezing a sponge when you've got dew points in the low 70s and you got air temperatures earlier today, made it into the low 80s, kind of a Florida-like air mass. These storms can be very, very efficient rainfall producers. The Weather Service in Pittsburgh is noting that they're seeing the circulation outrunning the low-level kind of hook, if you will, the hook that we've occasionally shown you on the radar here. So the tornado chances may be decreasing once again. The lightning rates are dropping, indicating that the storm may be weakening. When the lightning rates, I should say, ramp up, that is usually a sign that the storm is strengthening. When the amount of lightning is decreasing within a storm, that's oftentimes a storm that or a sign, I should say, that the storm is decreasing in intensity. So, good chance that the tornado warning will be allowed to expire at 8:15. We're not going to give you the all clear just yet. Stay in your safe location for maybe another 5, 6, 7 minutes. Anyone in and around Unity and East Palestine, once you go south of East Palestine along Route 170, you're probably in the clear down towards the 154 corridor. Once you get down towards Union Ridge and down towards Lake Tomahawk and places like that, you're in the clear, I think. You're in the clear in Rogers. Down Route 7, certainly you're in the clear. And East Fairfield, you're in the clear at this point. Middleton, you're in the clear. Columbiana, you've been in the clear for a while. But hang in there for another 5 or 6 minutes. Find your safe location and stay there for another 5, 6, 7 minutes. Anyone in and around East Palestine. We're just not seeing at this point, and this is a good thing, we're not seeing signs of re-strengthening. And we think when this crosses the state line If it re-strengthens at that point, it probably is into interior Beaver County, and no longer in Columbiana County, and probably no longer in southwestern Lawrence as well. So a few more scans of the radar to make sure that that trend will continue. We'll continue babysitting this for a few more scans, another 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then we'll get you back to regularly scheduled programming on WFMJ, WBCB. Our live streaming coverage will probably take a break from that as well. Upon the expiration of this tornado warning, we may have more streaming coverage to come as a result of what's off to our west. And again, for those just joining our coverage this evening, we had heavy storms earlier on. We've had kind of very isolated storms over the last couple of hours, but a much more widespread threat moving through the central part of Ohio right now. This entire line has had severe thunderstorm warnings along it. It's approaching Columbus right now, coming into Dublin, Ohio, on the northwestern side of Columbus, coming towards Mansfield probably in the next half an hour or so. And I think the timing for our television viewing area on this is mostly between, say, 10 p.m. and midnight. And while this line will likely weaken some, it may not weaken completely. It may still produce a wind threat as it comes across. So make sure your devices are charged before this comes across, because there's a chance that we could have some wind problems that cause some localized power outages coming up after sunset this evening. But back here in the 8 o'clock hour, it is 8:09, getting set to be 8:10. And we've got another 5 minutes to go on our tornado warning for the northeastern part of Columbiana County. You're still in the warning around the greater East Palestine area. Southwestern Lawrence County included in this. We're also in the tornado warning in northwestern Beaver County. Basically Darlington, South Beaver, on north and to the west over towards the state line. The storm we've been watching off to our north and west that had a severe thunderstorm warning on it earlier, that warning is no longer in effect, and this doesn't look like much more than a heavy shower right now coming out of the Hiram area and impacting kind of some communities in far western Trumbull County, including Southington and Mesopotamia. That is certainly non-severe at this point, and that is a very good thing, of course. Down in Columbiana County, the only places that are under this tornado warning, the northeastern part of the county. Again, you're not in this warning in the population centers of Salem and Lisbon and East Liverpool, and back towards Hanoverton and up towards Salem. You're not in the warning there either. But we do have several communities still under this tornado warning, including Unity, including East Palestine for another 5 minutes probably. This includes kind of the Route 14 corridor in the northeastern parts of Columbiana County. The areas that were hit pretty hard earlier on by severe weather mid-afternoon, kind of in this corridor up here, it's been quiet ever since. It'll probably be quiet in many of these places. Think Vienna, Warren, over to Sharon. It'll be pretty quiet for another couple of hours until that line in western Ohio works off to the east. All right, so let's hang with our coverage here for another few minutes until the expiration of this tornado warning at 8:15. The storm the heart of it is pretty close to the state line right now. If we're seeing some mid-level rotation still within the storm, it's pretty close to Unity, we think. Just watching the Weather Service chats, the Cleveland chats, what they're doing with the line off to the west, which occasionally has been producing some rotation and, perhaps tornado warnings occasionally as well. Real quickly before we wrap up our coverage here, look at all these warnings off to the west. All along this line, there are severe thunderstorm warnings, and occasionally there's been some tornado warnings as well. I would expect most of eastern Ohio and perhaps western Pennsylvania as well to be put under a severe thunderstorm watch in the next hour or two. All the counties in yellow are currently under a watch. I'm expecting this watch to be expanded off to the east over the next hour or two to encompass just about all of eastern Ohio, perhaps parts of West Virginia and western Pennsylvania as well. So that's what's going to happen, I think, as we go through the next couple of hours. We'll wrap up our coverage here on the TV side and get you back to programming here in just a couple of minutes, so hang with us there. If you are sheltered and watching us on a smart device, we appreciate you heeding our warnings and finding your safe location. You're not going to be inconvenienced for very much longer if you're watching us from around the East Palestine and Unity areas. We'll give you the all clear here in a couple of minutes. Not quite yet, but a couple of minutes. The storm itself getting set to exit East Palestine over the next couple of minutes. It's crossing the state line right now. Heavy rain, perhaps some gusty winds, southwestern Lawrence, northwestern Beaver. The storm has occasionally shown some rotation. This is the same storm that produced a tornado warning earlier on in extreme southwestern Mahoning, parts of Stark and Portage counties as well. It's been ramping up and down. It's been cycling, if you will. And right now, it's not showing any signs of strengthening, which is a good thing. And it's just about out of our hair in northeastern parts of Columbiana County, southwestern parts of Lawrence County, PA, I should say, as well. So this warning is set to expire coming up in just a couple of minutes at 8:15. If you are going to stay up tonight, hope you'll join us tonight on 21 News at 11. We'll probably have some storms trying to roll through at that point. They may be weakening. They may be still packing enough of a punch that we have to watch them pretty carefully. So I'll have you covered on air on 21 News at 11, online as well. Make sure you're following me and the rest of our team on social media, including the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on social media. That includes Facebook, that includes X or Twitter. Make sure you're following us there. And we'll keep you covered throughout the evening, whatever happens as this line continues pushing in from the west. Our tornado warning getting set to expire in a couple of minutes at 8:15. The storm right over the state line right now. The storm producing some heavy rain rates over towards Enon Valley, heading to areas of Beaver County, especially just north of the Darlington area right now. Very heavy rain, some lightning in there as well, perhaps some small hail. Maybe even seeing some small hail around the East Palestine area or just east of East Palestine as we speak. The rotation that has occasionally been shown by this storm does not appear to be strong enough to warrant a new tornado warning issuance downstream. So this is expiring as we speak. And so with that being said, we are going to get you back to regular programming on WFMJ and WBCB. Again, we'll do more streaming coverage and television coverage as warranted throughout the evening if that line off to our west decides to hold together as it crosses into the eastern half of Ohio. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening, and have a great rest of your night. And for those watching on the live stream, we're also going to stop our coverage at this point. Thanks for watching the live streaming coverage. As I just mentioned to our TV audience, we'll do some more coverage on our streaming platforms as needed this evening as that line pushes in mostly between 10 p.m. and midnight.